What's going on YouTube? It's TH back again with another video, and today I'm giving you my predictions and picks versus the spread for week 2 of the NFL season. Looking for a bounce back week after I struggled pretty badly in week 1, but hopefully you all enjoyed today's video. If you do, please hit that like button. It really would help me out a ton. And if you're new to the channel and want more football content in your life, just hit that big red subscribe button and comment your picks down below. Maybe your favorite picks for the week, some picks against the spread, where you think people can make some money, but also just tell me where I'm wrong. Why am I wrong about your team not covering or losing, or whatever the case may be? Love to have your thoughts. So let's talk about week 2 of the NFL season down below. So starting things right away, you'll see the record from week 1 on the screen. It definitely wasn't good, but I'm being transparent and I'm looking for a bounce back week. And it starts on Thursday night. And this is just a really tough one in the sense that I definitely don't buy into what Daniel Jones and that specifically the offensive line. It didn't look good against Denver. And it doesn't get necessarily easier against Washington, who I didn't even think played as good as that defense should have in week 1. But Taylor Heinicke, right? Like, how much of a step down is that from Ryan Fitzpatrick? I'm going to say not that much, though I am worried about it for sure. I'll take Washington to win this game on Thursday night. It helps that they're playing at home, but it's not like it's a long road trip for the Giants either way. But I think this defense will create enough pressure against Daniel Jones and cause him to get a little more turnover prone as the game goes on. On to the Sunday slate of games, and I'm going with the upset pick here. I know it's the Andy Dalton revenge game, and I'm someone who's I absolutely buy into revenge games, so I could see Andy Dalton going crazy. But the reason I'm going with the Bengals is because that secondary for Chicago looked bad, and that just doesn't line up well when you're playing Cincinnati, and they have 3 legit number 1 target caliber wide receivers. Joe Burrow looked good in his first week back from the injury. Joe Mixon was solid. On top of that, I know the pass rush wasn't crazy for Cincinnati, but gave Minnesota some problems. And in the tackle situation, even the interior offensive line wasn't great for Chicago. It had some moments, and overall, David Montgomery was able to break off some big runs, but a lot of that was yards after contact. So I'm going upset pick here. And ultimately, if Chicago loses this game, I think that is the catalyst to putting in Justin Fields. So part of this might be my bias, just ready to see Fields take the field, for lack of a better word. So I'm going to go with the Bengals on the road to start 2-0. Kind of the surprising team. I think this is the team that starts the first couple of games hot, gets a lot of talking points, and then kind of comes down to earth, at least how it's shaping out so far. Not a whole lot to talk about here. The Browns are just a better team. I know it was nice to see the Texans get a win, but the Texans definitely could be this year's Jacksonville, where they win week 1 and not a whole lot more after that. The Jags, of course, lost 15 straight a year ago, and that has now carried over into this regular season. Rams, Colts, I'm going to take the Rams on the road, and I've said this in my Power Rankings video. I didn't mention last week's picks video. I think the Rams start out 3-0. I think I'll take them over the Bucs next week. I think this team is going to be the talking point for the first 4 to 5 weeks of the NFL season. How good the offense looks, how Stafford looks unbelievable, et cetera, and they will be the talking points. They'll be everybody's, after a quarter of the season, Super Bowl pick, Matt Stafford for MVP. And then, once we get to week 6 onward, we'll see if it's actually going to stand and be something that can be continued throughout the entire NFL season. But I'll take them on the road here. On top of that, the Colts offense didn't necessarily look bad, but they gave up pressure to Seattle pass rush. That's not necessarily great. I think a lot of that's just Seattle's going to be a little bit better in that department than I had anticipated. But Aaron Donald, you hope to have everyone back at 100% for the Colts offensive line, because Aaron Donald is going to be a playmaker no matter what. I know he was kind of limited against the Bears, but he was still drawing double teams, and he was still creating one-on-one chances for everyone else. So overall, I think there's just too much talent for the Rams to, drop this one. Though they are on the road and the Colts are still a quality football team, I'll take the Rams. On to the Bills and the Dolphins. This is a super tough game because I could see Miami's defense creating a ton of turnovers. You have Will Fuller back at home, and you can create some big plays. But I'm going to just rely on the talent that's on the Buffalo roster, right? Like, on paper, the Bills are the better team. So I'm going to take them here on the road, needing a win, right? Got to get that bounce-back victory. Sean McDermott's also a fantastic coach, not to say Brian Flores isn't. The AFC East overall just has a ton of great head coaches. I'll trust the talent of the Bills roster and say they get the bounce-back win, but it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if Miami pulls off the win at home. Jets, Patriots. I'm going to go with the Patriots. They're coming off a loss. Both teams are, but the Jets really struggled and ultimately kind of got some garbage time points and made the game look closer than it was against Carolina. Versus the Patriots, I think being the better team, the Dolphins just making some big plays, and that's what puts Miami over the top in New England. So you look at these two teams' losses and who they were playing. I think the Patriots looked better against a better opponent than the Jets did, so I'll take New England despite them being on the road. 49ers and Eagles, a lot of hype on the Eagles right now, and I know they looked really good, but I'm trusting San Francisco here. They dominated Detroit for the first 2.5 to 3 quarters of that contest. Yes, it got out of hand towards the end, but that aside, the backdoor cover from the Lions, weird things happen week 1. I think the 49ers are just a better team. Losing Jason Verrett definitely hurts, but average depth of target for Jalen Hurts is 3.6 yards from week 1. It's not a team that's necessarily going to try to beat you down the field. Not to say they can't with Jalen Reagor, who looked good, and Devonta Smith, who got in the end zone in his first career game. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just, again, going to trust the talent on the San Francisco roster, trust that coaching staff, though Nick Sirianni did look good in his debut. So I like that the line has become much more even on these two teams. So if I'm picking a winner, I'm taking the 49ers. Raiders, Steelers, I'm taking the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. The Raiders basically just played a fifth entire quarter on Monday night, so it's a little bit of a shorter week. You played more, and you're going all the way across the country, pretty much across the country to go to Pittsburgh. All that just makes it really tough for the Raiders, though they are a team that normally gets at the hot starts, so I could see something breaking in their favor there. In Pittsburgh, despite winning in Buffalo, I don't think they played their best football, especially on the offensive side. What was interesting is they did it in a way that the Eagles did when they won a Super Bowl and the 49ers did when they lost to Kansas City in 2019. 4-man rushes, just letting Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt, Melvin Ingram, Cam Hayward be good enough, and then dropping 7. And that is awesome. As someone who is a fan of the Steelers, that was awesome to see them not blitz more, not create holes in coverage, just rely on the talent up front. And I think they continue to do that against a still new Las Vegas offensive line. Saints-Panthers, the Saints, I'm getting hate on my power rankings video, which is fine. After moving them up 11 spots, being told that was still too low. This Saints team looks legit. This will be a confirmation week, right? Not only did you beat Green Bay, which, I don't think Green Bay is going to be that bad, obviously, throughout the rest of the year, but if you beat up on Carolina, like if this game, 35-17 or something like that, like it's a strong Saints win, they're moving up into the top 6 probably in next week's power rankings. So like what I saw from New Orleans. If I see it once more, I will be a full believer that this team is legit. Broncos, Jaguars. Yeah, I got to go Broncos here. The Jaguars, I didn't have them at 32, but in hindsight, they look like the worst team after week 1 in the NFL. So that said, despite the Broncos being on the road, cross-country trip, weird things can happen. I could see if you were throwing money on this game, Jags money line's probably not terrible just because everyone is so low on them and they're at home and Denver's making the cross-country travel. The offensive line didn't look very good against Texans, right? 3 interceptions for Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, I think that's going to regress, but the offense just also doesn't look that creative. And then on the other side of the ball, Teddy Bridgewater did his job last week. Losing Jerry Jeudy definitely hurts, but Teddy, 2 gloves, was spreading the ball around, get the ball into the hands of his playmakers, and that defense looked as advertised. So because of that, I think this defense alone is good enough to beat the Jags. I'm going to go upset pick here. And this is killing me. Look how many road teams I'm taking. There's just no shot. I can already feel this going sideways. But I think this is a let's regress to the mean type of game for Arizona and improve to the mean for Minnesota. They had a couple calls, didn't go their way, but overall, they lost to the Bengals. They should have won that game. Arizona, I think, might have outperformed their expectations. So now they're at home. This is a team that is up and down, right? Hot start last year. Didn't end all that well. And I think Minnesota and Mike Zimmer is going to have this team ready to play. Needing a win on the road here. Get back to 1-1. So I'm going to take the Vikings here in a bit of an upset pick. Tampa Bay, Atlanta. Atlanta, if it wasn't Jacksonville that looked the worst after week 1, Atlanta's right there with them. That it was sad. It really was sad to see. And Tampa Bay is the number 1 team in the league in my eyes. So not much to talk about there. This is a tough game here. Because Dallas lost week 1, I want them to win week 2 so I don't have to hear the ESPN headlines. Oh, the Cowboys are so overrated. They can't win close games, because I do anticipate this game being close. And despite the Chargers going on the road, cross-country, beating a team that could be in the playoff conversation, I don't think Los Angeles played their best game of football, which is to be expected. It's week 1. But man, that Chargers team still looks like it can get better. So with all that said, I think I got to go with the Chargers at home. Additionally, I don't know if I can talk myself into picking more road teams. I feel like I'm already going to regret this. It's going to be another tough week for me. Additionally, no Lyle Collins. That's a big injury. You probably will have Zach Martin back, obviously a big plus for Dallas, so maybe you could say those things even out. Also, no Michael Gallup. Not that, it matters to me. You have Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. Michael Gallup's just a really nice 3. They'll be okay in that regards, but I think the Chargers at home, and I think this will be a game that comes down to a field goal, maybe even less. And if the Chargers win, people are going to be all over this hype train, which I can't blame people if they do that. Titans, Seahawks, this could be another game, right? I'm seeing a lot of power rankings with Seattle in the top 5, and I had them at 12. I liked what I saw. I think they did look good. But that said, are they top 5? I don't know if I'm ready to commit to that yet. And Tennessee looked just horrendous week 1, right? We can all agree that was hopefully the worst that we ever see the Titans. Hopefully the chemistry develops between Ryan Tannehill and Julio Jones, and hopefully it doesn't take an entire quarter plus before Todd Downing is going to drop a play where the ball ends up in the hands of A.J. Brown or Julio Jones. How do they not have a target for the first quarter plus? That is bewildering to me, but the 12th man is real. It is tough to beat Seattle in Seattle. I'll take the Seahawks at home, but I think Tennessee keeps this game close. 1 possession. This will be a bounce back, similar to what I talked about with this game here, where a team's getting overhyped and another one's getting, knocked down a lot of boards after a bad week 1. I think something similar could happen here, but I'll stick with the Seahawks winning this one. Kansas City, Baltimore. I think the Ravens, I really wouldn't worry about the Monday night game. They need to come down a couple spots in my next power ranking, as, I had that recording error and ran out of time, essentially. But I think Lamar Jackson's going to continue to play better. The offensive line will improve over time. But Kansas City is the best team in the AFC. And every time these two teams play, Kansas City scores first, and it forces Baltimore to throw the football. No Rashad Bateman in this game. And, while there were some things I liked about the passing game, it still is not enough to keep up with Kansas City throw for throw. So I'm taking the Chiefs despite them being on the road. Monday Night Football, I think Green Bay bounces back in a big way. Losing Jeff Okudah, and I've been singing the praises of Okudah, thinking he's going to be in a bounce back year. He didn't necessarily look good week 1. And now he is out for the year, ruptured Achilles. I don't know if he'll ever be the guy that I hoped he would be coming out of Ohio State now, which is definitely a big bummer. But no Okudah, that secondary gets that much more thin. I mean, DFS, if you're not playing Devontae Adams, I don't know what you're doing. Aaron Rodgers needs a bounce-back game. They're in Lambeau, which I think definitely helps out a ton. I think this team will go berserk. They'll dominate the Lions. The Lions won't cover the spread. We'll see what the spread is here in a second. But I think it's a big game for the Packers, get them back on track. Now for the back half of the video, I'll give you my predictions, picking who's going to win. Now we're going to talk about the spread. Washington and the Giants are basically picking the winner here with 3 points. I'll take Washington just because I picked him to win. This is a tough game, right? If Heinicke looks like a disaster, then betting on the Giants looks like a no-brain decision. I just don't think Heinicke's that much of a step down from Fitzpatrick. Obviously, the small sample size from what we've seen from Heinicke, but he has looked pretty decent. Bears-Bengals, I picked the Bengals to win, so why would I not have them covering this? But at 2.5, it's basically picking the winner. I'll stick with Cincy. 12 points is a lofty spread, but I think the Texans come back down to earth. I think the Browns get a big win and just validate a lot of people's thoughts about them. Yeah, they lost to Kansas City, but look, this team is still one of the best teams inside the AFC as a conference, and I'm hoping OBJ is back for this game, which definitely adds one more element to the offense. I'll go ahead and take the Rams to cover. I could see the Colts covering and, losing 27-24, but what I saw from this offense from LA, especially if there's no Xavier Rhodes for the Colts, we'll see as the week goes on. I'm recording this on Monday, so I'm obviously a little ahead of the curve. More updates will be out once this video is out, but I think the Rams are just a better football team. And while there's a lot of talent on the Colts defense, I just think that scheme and what I saw week 1, talent-wise also from the Rams offense, is just going to prove to be too much. Plus, Aaron Donald will wreak havoc. They'll create some pressure, and not a whole lot of great playmakers for the Colts. I think Michael Pittman had some nice grabs, made some nice plays, and I still like him, but he's just not a number 1. And when you're going against Jalen Ramsey, they're using him in a different role, but still, he'll take away that number 1 guy. And what's left after Michael Pittman? We'll see. But I'll take the Rams to cover as well. And now we get into a spot where I picked the Bills, but I do think this game is close. And to save my record, maybe I'll take the Dolphins to basically lose by 3. I think the Bills get better this week, but I don't think they take the step forward that Green Bay will, where Green Bay was just embarrassed week 1. I think the Bills didn't play good. I think they're disappointed with their week 1 outcome. Obviously, everybody who lost week 1 should be. But the step forward for Green Bay is much more clear to see versus Buffalo, and additionally, the opponent here is obviously a lot better. I do think Miami can create some turnovers and keep this game close, so I'll take the Dolphins to lose by 3 pretty much. And Pats-Jets, I'll go ahead and stick with the Pats here. 5.5 points, pretty widespread. I could see a backdoor cover here where Jets get a late touchdown, garbage time, lose by 4 or lose by 5. But I'll just go ahead and take the Patriots, pick them to win. And right now, from what I saw week 1, I think they are a 6-point or better football team. Jets being at home does help them, though. 49ers and Eagles, I'll take the 49ers to cover. I don't think this game is going to be as close as people want it to be. 31-21 would be my early score prediction. I'll take the 49ers over the Eagles. I think the Eagles had a really good week 1, but against maybe the second worst week 1 performance we saw from Atlanta. So I'm not completely sold. Plus, I just think San Francisco is by far a better team. I'll take the Steelers to cover here. This is obviously tricky. I picked the Raiders to cover in last week's video. Didn't pick them to win, but I did pick them to cover. But for all the reasons I mentioned, where they have to go to overtime, basically play an entire 5th quarter, they're playing on Monday night, they're going across the country, all that I think leads to a situation where maybe it's close in the first half, but Pittsburgh ultimately pulls away. Plus, Pittsburgh's really, really good in their home opener to a season. So I'm going to go with the Steelers at home to both win and cover. Saints, I'll lay the 4 points. That's a no-brainer. That is one of the easiest spreads I'll take. I'll take that one with confidence. I might bite that in a week. We'll see. Broncos, Jags. Man, this is going to be one that I could totally regret. I picked the Broncos to win, but is Trevor Lawrence going to throw 3 more interceptions? Actually, maybe. Against the Broncos defense, maybe. But they're at home. Chance to bounce back. Cross-country travel for the Broncos. Maybe it's just by getting a late garbage time score. But I don't know. I'm feeling the Jags to cover the 6 points. I think this comes down to, obviously a possession or less. But I did pick the Broncos to win, so don't think I'm crazy. Minnesota picked them to win, so I'll take them to cover there for sure. Tampa Bay by 12 points. I'm fully confident in that. I picked the Chargers to win, and if this was 3.5, maybe I'd go Dallas, but at a 3-point spread, I'll take the Chargers. This is basically my point. I picked the Seahawks to win, but the Titans lose by 4. 27-24, something along those lines. Might have already given a score prediction earlier on, but I'm just kind of throwing out numbers to be honest with you. But I'll take the Titans to cover despite me taking the Seahawks to win. I'll take Kansas City by 3.5 points. And then Green Bay, I'll lay the 11. I know that's a huge margin, and the Lions just covered barely 8. They are the tie that I had from this week. But I think Green Bay is just due for a huge Monday Night Football, prime time, everyone's watching, narrative bounce back in this game. And like I said, no Jeff Okudah. I don't think Green Bay is going to let the foot off the brake. Like San Francisco eventually started to let up, and they started to give up some big plays, and Detroit made it interesting, if you want to call it that. I don't think Green Bay is in a position to where they'll feel comfortable doing that. I think they want to go 110% from start to finish, and if it means absolutely obliterating a division rival off the face of the earth, I don't think they'll feel bad about it whatsoever. But that is going to do it for my week 2 predictions and picks versus the spread. Tell me what you think down in the comment section. Where am I right? Where am I wrong? Tell me why your favorite team will cover the spread, will win, and I said otherwise. Love to have your thoughts. So let's talk about week 2 of the NFL season down below. Hopefully you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit that like button. It really would help me out a ton. And if you're new to the channel with more football content in your life, just hit that big red subscribe button. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. And until next time, my name is Tej, and I'm signing off.